You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here. I'm your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show. We're powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. My wife and I own a top 100 ranked real estate team, and we help our sellers profit more and sell faster utilizing our innovations with radio, TV, and internet marketing. We got a hot property listing here at 3879 Nighthawk Drive in Palm Harbor. Palm Harbor is one of the best little communities in Tampa Bay, in my opinion. You know, right up there with Dunedin, Tarpon Springs, and Oldsmar. Beautiful property here. 1,300 square feet. This would be a great rental property as well if you want to buy it, invest in real estate, and turn around and rent it out. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Got a community pool, large backyard, walk-in shower. At 3879 Nighthawk Drive in Palm Harbor, and that is beautiful, Pinellas County. We got a property at 2817 Gulf City Road. This is 23 acres, $1.8 million listing of mine at Ruskin. Beautiful property in Ruskin. Motivated seller. You've got potential for development here, so attention builders, developers. Can be subdivided, and it's right on the Little Manatee River with bay access. Waterfront property available at 2817 Gulf City Road in Ruskin. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. All right, Brandon Faust, welcome in, sir.
Good to be back. Always good to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Mold Solutions USA.
Yep. So we obviously talk about mold with Mold Solutions USA. That's what we deal with day in, day out. And I wanted to talk to the users, or the guys that are out there listening on the radio right now about what they can do to prevent the dampness from coming in through the windows, because the seasons are changing right now, right? So we're going from that hot, humid to more of a dry and cold climate outside. And when that happens, that moisture that's been building in the house actually starts moving towards outside. And when that occurs, you start seeing a lot of condensation around the windows.
Right.
So, of course, where there's water, there's life. And we see a lot of buildup in windows, believe it or not, around this time. Not from leaks, but actually from the humidity or the moisture trying to get outside.
Yeah.
So that's something to watch for in terms of, just that water and potential growth that starts happening.
And what do you do if you see that? Is that something just wipe down?
You really should just wipe it down, dry it out, and also, have a dehumidifier on hand, because if the AC is not really doing the job and you potentially are not using the AC as much, because that's part of the function of an AC,
right,
is to pull water out of the air, not just climatize the air,
that's right,
but to actually pull water out of the air. If you're not using it as much, you might have more moisture actually floating around your home. And believe it or not, the cooler the air holds less water droplets, so you're going to see them, forming on surfaces more often.
Okay.
So a dehumidifier would actually be a good thing to have on hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've talked about in the past too, where you get a lot of your referrals from doctors.
Absolutely, that's one of the key places, because of course mold toxicity, it causes a host of issues that obviously we're not doctors, we're just mold people, with Mold Solutions USA, but we talk to so many of them, and they're interested in our process compared to a lot of other remediators, because most of the guys that are in this industry, they are following the insurance dollar, if you will, which is unfortunately somewhat typical in a lot of industries.
Like a storm chaser?
Well, I wouldn't classify it as a storm chaser, but more just like even a lot of Western medicine. They're going to treat that which, insurance is going to cover. And the stuff that it doesn't cover, they're not going to focus on as much, right?
Okay.
It's a easier sell, let's put it that way.
Got it.
Right? Because obviously insurance is going to cover it, so you don't have to pay out of pocket.
Right.
Right. But when you're dealing with, mold, it's not always insurance based. You might have a humidity driven mold. You might have mold that's in your AC unit or in your ducts. There might be situations where insurance isn't going to cover it, but it's definitely making you sick. So when that happens, you have a health-centric mold remediation company that's going to address that. And unfortunately, there's not that many of them out there, because most of the remediators are going to go after water damage or mold cleanup that insurance is going to pay for. Whereas we have always been more focused on the actual indoor air quality aspect of it and the quality. When I say indoor air quality, I'm really talking about the quality of your air.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the three things that we need to keep us alive, keep us surviving? Water, food, and air, right? Same type of thing with mold, believe it or not. That's actually exactly what mold needs too, is nutrients, oxygen, and water. But if your air is dirty, or if you're having trouble with your air, you're ultimately going to potentially have health issues.
Yeah.
So if you're breathing in contamination or toxins, which mold does produce, then it can lead to a host of physical issues. So a lot of the doctors, like you're talking about, that treat root cause and are looking for situations that mold might be contributing to, and finding the actual reason that disease or problem or situation is occurring, they're going to say, well, you need to make sure your home is addressed. Because if you have a toxic home, if your home is making you sick, then you're not going to get better. You're definitely not going to get better at the speed they would like you to, or there's going to be slow recovery compared to a much faster recovery. And a lot of those doctors are looking for, a full recovery.
Right. Yeah, we're talking with Brandon Faust here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Mold Solutions USA is his company. Longtime friend of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Support the local economy by supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show and all of our different show partners. We got 80 different categories of consumer advocates that come in here and take time out of their busy schedules and talk to you, our audience, about these different consumer advocate tips. Let's stay on that topic there. Consumer tips. What are some of the other common misnomers that you find, and some other tips for consumers out there, Brandon?
Yeah, one thing that I think is crucial for the consumers out there is knowing that there's one aspect of the home that I think goes completely overlooked, and that is the crawl space. Most people do not want to get into their crawl space. Who does, right? It's damp, it's dirty, there's rodents, there's all kinds of stuff in there. So people are not going to necessarily go look. But because there is so much humidity in Florida, and you do have that same sort of thermodynamic situation of hot moving to cold, or wet moving to dry, you're going to have a transfer of air going into the crawl space. It is hot and humid, and of course, hot air rises.
Mm-hmm.
So that hot, humid air rises up, and you have that the planks or the subfloors that you tend to be raw wood.
Mm-hmm.
So what does mold love? It loves organic material. So you get mold growing on the bottom of your subfloors, and that can lead to a tremendous impact on your air quality in your home. About 50% of the air you breathe actually comes from your crawl space if your home is up on stilts,
Wow.
Like whether it's 3 foot or 8 foot stilts or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you have mold growing underneath your planks, and people are trying to figure out what's that musty smell or what's going on, they can't find it. Well, there's a good chance it's actually coming from the crawl space.
Yeah.
And some of the ways that I have seen general contractors handle it is actually contributing to making the situation worse, and they don't realize it. So the way that I've seen a lot of GCs handle it is they actually put insulation on the bottom of the subfloor, and they seal it off with a plastic.
Wow.
But what they're actually doing by doing that, or even a felt or something like that, is they're creating a moisture barrier.
Wow.
And moisture is actually staying trapped. And of course, the insulation usually has paper.
Yeah.
So you have paper and wood and moisture. So what have you just created? Basically, a Thanksgiving feast.
A breeding ground.
Yeah, a breeding ground for mold.
Wow.
Okay.
Interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So I've seen it quite a bit. And unfortunately, what we have to do is we have to go in, pull down the insulation, pull down all that plastic, do a full scrub down of all the planks, and then actually do it correctly. There was a home that we just recently handled in Sarasota that, I don't know, there's not that many homes that have basements in Florida. This one did. And unfortunately, whoever built it also basically enclosed that basement with drywall. Okay, but you had a tremendous humidity issue in this basement. So, of course, there was mold. Once you walked in, it was on all the drywall. It was all over the place. And then once we pulled the drywall, it was all along the subfloor as well. So that's going to result in this was a really impressive house. I mean, we're talking about a $4 million house on the water in Sarasota.
Wow.
So you could wind up with a wood decaying fungi destroying the bottom of that home, and the person doesn't even know about it because it was just poorly engineered. Like whoever built it didn't know how much a problem mold could actually create.
Right. Yeah, they might have been from a different state or whatnot.
Whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't think it through. And definitely, if you have a situation like that, the solution is not just to remove the mold, and to take it away, but to ensure that it doesn't come back.
Yeah.
So the way that you do that is there's a fan system that you can install, which continues to move the air in the basement in that case, or in the crawl space. And then you also have dehumidifiers that fit specifically in that crawl space. And then you have a sump pump that will also drain water out. And then the correct thing is to actually put a vapor barrier on the earth, which most people don't even know is actually the right thing to do. And I'm not talking about like visqueen or a slight like painter's plastic. I'm talking like a 10 mil poly barrier, right? Thick vapor barrier, and then you encapsulate the entire crawl space.
Wow.
And you create climatized air in that crawl space. That's actually the correct way to do it.
Right. Wow, that's a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. We're talking with Brandon Faust, Mold Solutions USA, B Faust in the house here in studio. And those are some good tips, man. Those are things that a lot of times people don't think about. And, just everything from the doctor referral, because, hey, if you're continually getting sick, your kids are having, potential, or they say, hey, this might be allergies. What is this? Sometimes it turns into mold. Same thing, contractors doing things that, maybe they don't have a tendency to really consider the mold implications. Got about a minute left. Give me your final thought and how folks can get in touch with you too.
Sure. I mean, they can reach out to Mold Solutions USA across the boards. That's our Instagram handle, our Facebook handle, our YouTube channel, Mold Solutions USA. And also they can give us a call. Of course, we do free environmental consultations. So if they're suspicious or they suspect that they have a situation, we can always come and take a look, even before they're paying for inspections, because inspections are not necessarily cheap when it comes to mold. You're talking about anywhere from $350, which is really the low end, to $750, and some guys even charge $3,000 for.
Depending on square footage too, that could be.
Yeah, depending on the square footage.
Yeah.
So we come in, take a look, and we can do some thermal imaging, some moisture mapping, take a look at the situation, and point you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a situation, you want to make sure you're dealing with somebody who's going to be a straight shooter and treat you right.
Yeah, reputable company. And I can tell you firsthand experience, my wife and I had a situation happen. Brandon jumped in and helped us with our home. We did a full treatment. What did we do? We did that ozone treatment?
It was atomized sanitization. So we use a non-toxic product. It's hydrogen peroxide with a commercial-grade vinegar. So we basically turn that into really microscopic droplets that are so tiny that you can consider them dry. So you can actually end up sanitizing the home with the furniture in it, the electronics in it, etc. And it's going to really sanitize the air quality. It's going to make sure that it's fully clean. So we specialize in that, but we also, more than anything, do the traditional remediation as well, because there's no silver bullet. You got to take a look at the situation. There's many different situations, and it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Yeah. Mold Solutions USA, Instagram, Twitter.
I don't know if we're on Twitter, but Facebook,
Twitter, YouTube channel, absolutely. Mold Solutions USA.
And our website, for sure. Same thing, moldsolutions.com. Moldsolutionsusa.com.
USA.com. All right, Brandon Faust, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you coming in.
You got it. Sure thing.
Good catching up with you. Great tips, too. Thank you for that. All right, we're taking a quick break. Coming back, Nate Ginter on the Consumer Quarterback Show, Vine IT. Nate with Vine IT. We're going to talk about the FTX scandal, crypto, what's going on with crypto. He's a tech expert. He's going to tell us. Also, some Black Friday tips to consider. Nate Ginter, Vine IT, coming up. Plus, feel-good story of the day. Best friends win $1 million lottery and spread the wealth in hometown to help others. We'll be right back. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.